Good afternoon, folks. I'm very happy to be here in Detroit via Zoom. Uh, I've had a good time every time I've been in Detroit. I don't think this one is going to get me out of my man cave. But my presentation today is about Rap Dixon, and it's unbiased, unabashed case for him to be put into the Hall of Fame. I first presented on Rap at the 1997 Sabre Conference in Louisville. I then repeated it in 2006 at a Malloy conference. I think I've done it two times since at a Malloy, and this is my first time on Zoom. Now, here comes the big move. We're going to try to share a screen with you. And we're getting there. So I'll see you after the show. Okay. I entitled my presentation Rap's Rap, for want of a better title. And let's talk about Herbert Alfonso Dixon. I'm going to give you a little bit of biography. Chris Rainey and I have just completed the Sabre bio for Rap. It should be up in October. But Rap is born in 1902 in Kingston, Georgia. And he's born to John Dixon and Rosa Goodwin Dixon. And those names, Dixon and Goodwin, are important because Rap and his brother Paul played Major League equivalent baseball in the Negro Leagues. And Tom Goodwin, of course, is the first base coach of the Boston Red Sox. The family moved to Steelton, Pennsylvania in 1915 as part of the Great Migration. 2 million African Americans moved northward around the time of World War I, and then millions more later. In 1916, Rap debuts with a adult league team called the Keystone Giants. At 13 years old, he's the youngest guy in the team. He certainly wasn't off the bench much in that year. By 1919, though, at 18, he's batting third, playing shortstop, and is one of the key players on the team. 1922, he joins the Harrisburg Giants, which are the highest level of semi-pro ball in the area, and he becomes their star right fielder. 2 years later, in 1924, the Giants entered the Eastern Colored League, which was the major leagues of one of the two major leagues in Negro League baseball. He then goes on to a 14-year career at the highest level that he was permitted to play. Now, I'm not going to go into that now because that is the bulk of my presentation. He gets back to Harrisburg, unfortunately, fairly early, 1938. He's only 35 years old. In Q&A, whatever you want to ask about biography, please do. But I'm not going to touch on much here. This is going to be mostly a baseball presentation. He does die in Detroit at 447 Alfred Street. He actually dies in Receiving Hospital, suffers a heart attack on a streetcar. Legend has it in full uniform, he was managing a Detroit semi-pro team at the time. Oh, okay. Okay, I want to talk about Rap Dixon as a Hall of Famer. So the question becomes, what makes a player a Hall of Famer? For me, it's three things: statistics, opinions, mostly of your peers, and legends. So let's examine all three. I'm going to be quick with the stats. His Triple Crown numbers for every 162 games played are 325 batting average, 21 homers, 125 RBI. He also steals 29 bases for every 162 played. Only one Negro League player who batted as often as Rap exceeds those numbers, and that is, of course, Oscar Charleston. Dixon is the only 2020 man, 20 steals, 20 homers, not in the Hall with as many at-bats as Dixon has. The only two in the Hall, of course, are Turkey Stearns and Oscar Charleston. The final offensive stat I'm going to talk about is his OPS. There are no Negro Leaguers that bat 2,552 times with a higher OPS than 944 who's not in the Hall of Fame. There are 8 Hall of Famers with a higher number, of course. Within Major League Baseball, during this segregated era, with, again, as many at-bats as Dixon had, there's only one player not in the Hall, and that's lefty O'Doul. His OPS was 945. Now let's look at just two defensive stats and we'll be done with the stats are anathema for a lot of people. For me, I could spend the whole presentation talking Rap Dixon's wonderful statistics. The only Negro League outfielder with a better than average fielding percentage, range factor, and runs saved by arm at all three outfield positions, left field, center field, and right field, is Rap Dixon. Over 2,000 players appeared in outfield games in the Negro Leagues. Only one has better than average in all three of those numbers in all three of those positions. And of course, one of those numbers is what he's known for. According to the sabermetrics in CMEDS, there are no outfielders in the Negro Leagues that save more runs by arm than Rap Dixon. Okay, opinions. First of all, let's take a look at the opinion of the Hall of Fame. There are 7 Negro Leaguers in the Hall of Fame for outfield play. And you see them listed from Monty Irvin down to Home Run Brown. So those are the 7 greatest outfielders in the opinion of the fame. But there's 5 more on a special ballot from 2006. Rap Dixon has the best stats of those 5, but I'm not really ranking them here. But Rap Dixon, Roy Parnell, Alejandro Olms, Fats Jenkins, and Spotswood Poles are on that final ballot. So they too are among the dozen best Negro League outfielders according to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now let's zoom in on the opinions of the first 3 outfielders put into the Hall for outfield play as a Negro Leaguer. The first was Monty Irvin. He goes in the Hall in 1973, and in his biography, his autobiography, published in 1996, he lists the greatest Negro League outfielders he ever saw. Oscar Charleston's number 1, Cool Papa Bell is 2nd, Turkey Stearns was 3rd, Wild Bill Wright, who's not a Hall of Famer, was 4th, and Rap Dixon is 5th. Now let me remind you, there are 7 outfielders in the Hall of Fame. So what Monty Irvin is saying, having Dixon in the top 5, is he thinks, at least in that biography, that Rap Dixon merited Hall of Fame. Cool Papa Bell says the same thing in an interesting book by Asella and Dewey, published in '94, called The Greatest Team of All Time, in which 100 or so ballplayers gave those 2 authors their starting 9 of their all-time team. Bell's all-time outfield includes Turkey Stearns, Monty Irvin, and Rap Dixon. So Cool is going even further than Monty. He's saying Dixon is one of the 3 greatest Negro League outfielders of all time. And little asterisk there, he puts Charleston at first. So I won't presume to put Rap into the top 3 there, but certainly 4th. And finally, Oscar Charleston. And Charleston's opinion was expressed in 1949, which makes it a little more important because it wasn't influenced by anything the Negro League researchers have done or anything the Hall of Fame has done. This was his opinion of his starting 9. And his outfield, in left, the great Martin Diego, of course, went into the Hall as a second baseman and is now considered a pitcher. So he was obviously a heck of a player. The right fielder is Cristobal Torriente. And in his old position, which speaks volumes to me, he put Rap Dixon, despite both Diego and Torriente playing more games in center field than Dixon did. One other point, Oscar Charleston is saying that Rap Dixon was the greatest African-American outfielder he ever saw, because both Diego and Torriente are Afro-Cuban. Okay, so that's it for the opinions, although Larry Doby, Leon Day, Ben Taylor, and several other players and general managers and managers also have Rap in their top 7. But it's the legends that are the most fun to talk about. To become a saint in the Catholic Church, you need to have at least two legends. I'm not sure how many legends you need to be a Hall of Famer, but with Rap's statistics and opinions, I think he's got about a dozen, and that should do it. So let's take a look at him. First, as a rookie in 1924, when he joins the Harrisburg Giants of the Eastern Colored League, he joins the greatest outfield to ever play in Negro League baseball. And why do I say that? Well, I've already mentioned that the Hall of Fame has him in the top dozen outfielders. Charleston, of course, is in the top 7. He's in the Hall of Fame. The left fielder is Fats Jenkins, and he is not only in that list of 12, making this the only outfield ever in the Negro Leagues to have 3 outfielders of that top 12. He's also in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Now, his second legend, after the winter of 26-27, where he played on the Philadelphia Royal Giants, helping to lead them to the California Winter League title, Rap went to Japan with those members of the team that desired to go. I think 5 or 6 joined a high-level semi-pro team and toured Japan, Korea, and Hawaii. Rap was the best hitter on the team in that Oriental tour. He used to stand on home plate and throw balls over the outfield fences. And this cartoon given to me by Kaz Sayama, a Japanese baseball researcher and a big Rap Dixon fan, proves he did it. I mean, it's a picture. What more do you want? And here's another picture. The Emperor Hirohito provided Rap Dixon, and this is legend or lore, believe what you want to believe. It is somewhat documented in the new book called Gentle Black Giants by Kaz Sayama and Bill Staples that came out last year. But supposedly Sayama or Hirohito presented Dixon with a Loving Cup trophy. And members of the Dixon family have told me they saw the trophy. Now, I never saw it. So that's up to you. These are legends after all. In 1929, in July, in consecutive doubleheaders, 1 week apart, Rap Dixon cracked 14 straight hits. Now, the major league record is 12. I consider these 14 major league equivalent, and I'll tell you why. We know who Pinky Higgins did his 12 against, and we know who Walt Dropo did his 12 against. We also know who Dixon batted against, and there's no comparison. In Dixon's case, his first 8 hits are off all-star caliber or better. Sam Streeter, Phil Cockrell, and the Hall of Famer Smokey Joe Williams. He also reached base 16 straight times, including 10, his first 10 plate appearances against that formidable trio. So this is one of the great batting accomplishments in the history of the game. And I'm going to compare it to certain other records so you can see how long it's been around unapproached. Cal Ripken has held his record for 25 years. He said it in 1995. He actually said it probably for his last 3 years, but his last game in his streak was in 1995, 25 years ago. Gehrig held it for 62 years prior to that. In terms of hitting streaks, it's been 79 years since Joe DiMaggio hit in 56 straight. It's been 79 years since Ted Williams was the last 400 hitter. It's been 91 years since anyone has approached 14 consecutive hits against major league equivalent pitching. One comment here, and it escapes my mind. So if in Q&A you want to bring me back here, I'll see if I can recall. Oh, I know what it is. No one has got more than 11 hits since Walt Dropo in 1952 or so. So there's no one threatening Dixon's 14. In April of 1923, when Yankee Stadium opened, in the very first game they ever played, Babe Ruth, in his second at-bat, slammed the first home run in the history of Yankee Stadium. That ballpark has been known as the house that Ruth built ever since. 7 years later in a charity game to raise funds for the Brotherhood of Women Porters. Rap Dixon hit the first home run by a Negro leaguer in Yankee Stadium. The first home run by an African American in Yankee Stadium was hit by Rap Dixon. Now here I have an artifact I want to show you, so I'm going to attempt to unshare that. Okay. Okay. Now where was I? Okay. July 5th, 1930, Rap Dixon hit the first home run by an African American in Yankee Stadium. And I want to show you this artifact. It's very special. Can you see? Rap Dixon autographed baseball dated July 5th, 1930. Now, before you send anybody to my basement, it's a facsimile. Okay, we're going to leave this sit. All right, his next legend. In 1932, Gus Greenlee opens up his wallet and tells Oscar Charleston, who's here on the far left, to put together the greatest baseball team he could with Greenlee's money. And of course, for the next 5 years, the Pittsburgh Crawfords were the best team in the Negro Leagues. In this picture, you see on the far right, Hall of Famer Judd Wilson. Next player in is Hall of Famer Judy Johnson. Then it's Hall of Famer Josh Gibson. And then it's the star of this presentation, the great Rap Dixon, hopefully a Hall of Famer after the December 2021 election. And the man with his foot on the bench, of course, is the manager, Oscar Charleston. 1933, the fans, well, there's the first All-Star game in Major League Baseball in Chicago. And then at the end of the year, I think it was in September, the first Negro League All-Star game occurs. It's also in Comiskey Park. And this is a picture of Dixon batting. It's out of the Courier, so it's not a very clear picture, but it's the only picture I've ever seen of Rap Dixon batting. And he did get a hit that day and a hit the following year. He stole the first base, scored the first run for the East, and the steal was part of a double steal with him and Charleston. So he had two great all-star games. He also was an all-star a total of 6 times, counting the various postseason Composey or Rollo Wilson or even John Hallway or Seamheads using their statistical analysis today. Dixon was an all-star for just about half of his 10-year prime. 1934, again, just after the winter season, which he spent in Puerto Rico that year, he joined a great team called the Concordia Eagles. I hope you can see this. This is the great Josh Gibson. This is Martin Diego. They were the 2 Hall of Famers on the team. This player, you've heard the name. This is Louis F. Play much, and when he does play, he's rather ineffective in 1934. Doesn't stop the fans from electing into the All-Stars, and he does get a hit. But his principal point in 1934 is he was the first professional manager for this young 17-year-old rookie, Leon Day. And of course, Leon goes on to the Hall of Fame. And Leon personally in 1990 told me Rap was the right man for this job, that is his first manager. He really claimed not to have seen Rap play, although he did see him play a little bit. And he also names him to his all-time team in several publications. But his comments to me were mostly about him being the right guy at the right time as a manager. 1935, this is Rap's swan song as a player. He's in the Negro League playoffs. There was no World Series that year, but the Pittsburgh Crawfords no longer featured him. He joined the New York Cubans at midseason, probably at the urging of Martin Diego, who knew him from the previous year with Concordia. The Cubans finished in the 2nd division in the first half with a losing record, but with Dixon on the team, and he hit about 300. They finished first in the second half and earned the right to play the first half champions, Pittsburgh Crawfords, in the playoffs. And these are the statistics of the teams in that playoff. These are the four Hall of Famers that played. You can see Charleston, Gibson, Bell, and Dihigo all play. Charleston and Gibson have outstanding 7-game series, with Charleston's OPS being over 1. Dixon's batting average, on-base percentage, and his OPS were the best of all in that 7-game series. Unfortunately, Dihigo gives up a big home run to Charleston in the, I think it was the 6th game, but he also blows the 7th game too. And he only hits 192. So Rap did not get the Corvette, which they were giving away that year for the best player in the series. That probably went, I would assume, to Oscar Charleston. 1937. You probably all are aware that the Pittsburgh Crawfords got raided before that year by the dictator of the Dominican Republic, a man named Trujillo. He took Page, Bell, Gibson, I think Judy Johnson, I'm not sure about that. I think so, though. And they went to the Dominican, and they won the Dominican League just barely. In fact, they had to come from behind to win that. And they were lucky they did, because the dictator didn't really fool around. But when they came back to this country, all the Negro League players were suspended from league play, with the exception of Josh Gibson, shown right here. Josh had told the Grays he was going. They gave him permission, so he was welcomed back to the team. But the rest of the guys were stuck without jobs. So they toured the country under the name of Santo Domingo Stars, Page All-Stars, Trujillo All-Stars. And by early August, they were ready to play in the Denver Post tournament. They needed a manager. Who did they turn to? Rap Dixon. So Rap Dixon leaves the Crawfords. This was his last year. He only had 8 or 9 plate appearances with the Crawfords that year. And he joins, along with Page. They both were latecomers. They actually missed the first game or 2 of the tournament. But they capture the Denver Post tournament, and that's certainly a fitting cap to Dixon's career, although I have 2 more to go. 1942, Rap is the manager of a Harrisburg Giant team that featured 4 white players. And he spoke about this in the paper. Rap could see that integration was coming. And he spoke in the paper about the Negro League players and how they were the equal of the Major League players. And he knew in 1942 that integration was just around the corner. So 5 years before Jackie plays a Major League game, Dixon is managing the Harrisburg Giants against the Hilldale team in what I have to be honest about was a minor Negro League game. Neither of those 2 great franchises were in the Negro Major Leagues in 1942. One more before we wrap it up. In 1943, the Harrisburg Stars, the Harrisburg St. Louis Stars, are back in the Negro National League for the first time in 15 years. They left the Eastern Colored League in 1927. So it's their return to the big stage. But the country's at war. And Rap Dixon, from the front office of that team, he was more publicity than anything else, but he certainly was part of the decision making. They left the Negro National League. Finally got back in, and they leave it to tour the country selling war bonds, playing Honus Wagner's All-Stars. So that's Dixon's last legend. Any one of them might not get him in the hall, but the set of 12 with those marvelous statistics and the opinions of Oscar Charleston in particular, I think make a good solid case for Rap Dixon. And he is on the bout that we last saw 14 years ago. So with that, I'll take questions. I hope I have answers. And congratulations to the Detroit folks for putting on this great conference. Thank you. We're still on. I'd like to just run through some pictures. Can we do that, RJ? Oh, I'm sorry. So yes, go ahead. There's one. And these are going to show when people are asking questions. The questions are going to be asked and given to me, and they'll probably get them in writing. the answers. I'll get the questions and the, you know, and then these are just pictures. That's Rap in the back, but these are pictures done of the Harrisburg Giants or Rap Dixon. And this is Dr. Crutchfield. He did that picture. This is the beautiful one. RJ, I don't know if you've been down yet. I'd love to go down with you, you know, if you trust me not to give you the virus. On 3rd Street in Harrisburg, that picture is on display. It's a Phil Dewey. Now, this is the bobblehead that was put out by the Negro League Baseball Museum this year. And this is a Barbara, I think her name is. Can't remember her name. I'm glad we're not using this audio, but this is her version of the Rap Dixon pose. This is Dixon's grave, and when the pandemic's over, I'd love to take you to Midland Cemetery. You see, he's buried there with his grandfather and his sister. This is what's on his grave. It's not exactly accurate. I marked it. Cost me $1,500. Now I had donation. Cost me $150. But we put a marker on his grave. It's the most visited grave in Midland Cemetery. Oh, and this is the day that we marked the grave. This would have been in 2007. Now these guys, RJ, before you got here, I think they're both gone. But this is Willie Fordham and Jim Whedon. They both played for the 1954 Harrisburg Giants. Back here, though, this is Kurt Moten. The Orioles sent both Kurt Moten and not in the picture, Paul Blair. They're both gone now, but the Orioles participated quite nicely in this because the Baltimore Eli Giants was one of Rap's